Welcome to Quarter 2, Module 1, Handicraft Production. Use basic tools in embroidery. The module is divided into two lessons, namely Lesson 1, Use basic tools in embroidery. Lesson 2, Embroidery stitches. Objectives. After going through this module, you are expected to 1. Use basic tools in embroidery. 2. Perform different embroidery stitches based on the given steps. And 3. Observe proper use of tools. To check your prior knowledge, answer what I know. Match the different embroidery tools and materials with your images. Write the letter of your answer on the space before the number. What is handicraft? Handicraft is a work or craft that one can make to produce a decorative item with the help of basic tools. Some work on it as a hobby, while some practice it and eventually develops into skill. What are the different kinds of handicraft? Embroidery, carpentry, beadwork, weaving, pottery, metalwork, and papercraft are just a few of the handicrafts that were introduced. It is not only an expression of one's interest and expression of creativity, it also became an expression of one's culture and love for arts. People also discovered that there are many resources around that are too good not to be processed as an item that could stage its beauty and practicality. Embroidery. Embroidery is a handicraft where a cloth is designed by using needle and thread. It is an art and craft brought to the Philippines by the Spaniards during 15th century. Hand tools are small devices that can help us process our embroidery work, may it be simple or complicated. Some basic tools that are readily found at home are a needle and scissors. Materials are those that consume in finishing a project like thread and cloth. What are the basic tools in embroidery? Number 1, needle. Needle is a small, fine piece of metal which is used for embroidery. There are different types and sizes of needle. Crewel needle or embroidery needle has shorter eye and sharp tip. Chenille needle has long eye and sharp tip, while tapestry needle has long eye and blunt tip. Number 2, needle threader. Needle threader helps embroiderers with difficulty or poor eyesight by aiding them in putting the thread to the needle. Steps of using threader. Push threader through the needle eye. Insert the thread through the threader and pull the threader. Pincushion. Pincushion is a small, soft cushion where needles and pins are safely placed. Embroidery scissors. Embroidery scissors have extremely sharp, thinner blades that are used to cleanly cut threads. The tip is pointed and angled to allow you to make close cuts, especially on raised embroidery work. The size of embroidery scissors is smaller compared to regular scissors. Thimble. Thimble is like a little cup inserted on a finger for protection for getting pricked by the needle while stitching. It is made from either plastic or metal that you can also use for pushing the needle against the fabric. Thread clipper. Thread clipper is useful specifically in cutting or snipping threads. Avoid using this to cut fabrics. It is also called thread nips or thread snips. Seam ripper. Seam ripper is used to rip the stitches often as a result of either error or alteration. Use a seam ripper with care to prevent damage on the fabric. Keep it safe by putting back its plastic cap when not in use. Tweezers. Tweezers are used for removing entangled threads. Sewing gauge. Sewing gauge is a small ruler for taking measurements. It is about 6 inches long and has a sliding guide for taking small measurements. Tape measure. Tape measure is a flexible ruler that is used for taking measurements more than 12 inches. It could extend up to 60 inches long. Tracing paper. Tracing paper is a transparent paper used for tracing designs that you want for your embroidery. The tracing wheel. Tracing wheel is a tool used for transferring embroidery designs onto a fabric. It has a tooth wheel that is attached to a handle. Drawing pens. Drawing pens are useful for drawing your embroidery designs on your fabric. You may use pencils, water soluble pens, and chalk. Dressmaker's carbon paper. Dressmaker's carbon paper is also called dressmaker's tracing paper. It is very useful in transferring the exact design to the fabric. Embroidery hoop. Embroidery hoop is a tool that is used for stretching the fabric appropriately while doing the embroidery work. It consists of two rings made from either wood or plastic that fit together when you tighten or loosen the screw. The fabric is laid in between the inner ring and the outer ring. Sewing box. Sewing box is where you put together all tools and materials in embroidery. Keep it well organized to easily locate what you need. What are the different materials in embroidery? 1. Fabric. Fabric is a piece of cloth that one needs for embroidery. These have different colors, design, and materials. Some of the fabrics that we can use are cotton, linen, silk, and wool, among others. Ida cloth is an example of a cotton fabric that may be used by a beginner. It has a small holes when your needle exactly goes. Either fabrics have different stitch counts. A 14 count is recommended. 2. Thread. Thread is a long, thin strand of cotton that is passed through the eye of a needle that is used in sewing. It is also called embroidery floss, which comes in different colors. The variety of colors used be chosen carefully for the best embroidery design. Be sure to separate the six plies with the proper care before using it. 2 to 3 is the recommended number of strands for the 14 count Ida cloth. Here are the proper carrying of your tools. 1. Keep your tools clean. A way for you to do it is to always have a dry, soft cloth to wipe it. 2. Always keep your cutting tools in a case, especially the sharp ones. It may harm kids and pets if it is not properly kept. Number 3. Sharpen your tools if you feel some dullness in the blades. Fabrics and get damaged as a result of poor cutting tools. Pu- Apply thin coats of oil to prevent rust. Just wipe off the excess using a dry cloth. Number 5. Needles may be rubbed with an abrasive material such as sandpaper to keep it sharp and long lasting. What's more, write true if the statement is true, and if it is false, change the underlined word or group of words to make the whole statement true. What I have learned. Write down at least 10 tools and materials used in embroidery. Assessment. Identify the different basic tools or materials described in each number. Write the letter of your answer on the space before each number.